Hey everybody, in this video we are going to have a look at what your synth says about you. To many fans of electronic musical instruments, acquiring and owning a piece of gear is as close to an act of artistic expression as they might ever get. We will take a deep dive into the intertwinement between the twisted minds of musically inclined people and their gear collections, demonstrate that cliches can sometimes be true, and how music technology has become your entire personality. Korg Minilogue and Korg Minilogue XD, while others either make music with whatever trash they have lying around or spend big bucks on upscale equipment, you chose mediocrity. You know that there are more exciting synths available for that money, but deliberately opted for a combination of bland design, a subpar feature set and a synth engine easily surpassed by a freeware VST. Yes, the third-party oscillators of the XD are cool, but you would have to spend a respectable amount of money just to make the whole thing sound about as interesting as an iPad app, and chances are you think that Olive Garden is authentic Italian food. Brutes and freaks. As an average Arturia hardware enjoyer, you are a valuable member of society. Your gear obsession has not yet fully taken over your life and you're financially stable within your means. Well, at least some of you are, even if your descent into madness is already rearing its ugly head in form of a wreck brute gracing your pedestrian Mini 2. The compact form factors and spouse-friendly design language of the French manufacturer still pique the curiosity of your friends and family and don't call for a full-on intervention. However, the dangers of the mostly affordable analogs and hybrids are twofold. First of all, the oftentimes harsh and unwieldy tones are a prime excuse for your tracks to never leave the demo folder. And secondly, even the humble MiniBrute comes with convenient CV and gate connectivity, opening up the gates to Eurorack hell. You're basically doomed. Teenage Engineering OP1. That's an easy one. You're either a renowned artist famed for their social media prowess, wielding a wide variety of music technology, and you have honed your craft to a point where the weird idiosyncrasies and post-ironic limitations of the OP1 turn into some kind of obscure superpower. So you're basically Heinbach and red means recording. Or you just dumped 10,000 hours into music production doom scrolling and have too much disposable income. You choose. The Elektron cult. Speaking of terminally online people with maxed out credit cards, the social media game of the brethren of the not-so-secret society of our dear Swedish overlords is doubtlessly strong, but most of their screen time is still dedicated to lengthy Reddit discussions about the blessings of trig-less P-locks on an Octatrack 2, or if you are of SID station age, defending the aesthetics of the Digitone keys in a Facebook group for audio boomers. You can squeeze an entire track from 4 analog voices that sound like a 2009 plugin, your FM-based Richard D. James reenactment is authentic, and just in case your new collaboration partner didn't do the right thing and flee the studio through the restroom window pre-session, 80% of the time is spent on fine-tuning a patch that would have taken you 3 seconds on a Behringer TD3. You also program your tech software from scratch. Team MPC. The MPC demographic is split into two fractions: hardware aficionados who hate DAWs and got one of the recent roided up Akai battleships because these can do everything a DAW does but more tedious and with plenty of extra steps, or the MPC is the only piece of hardware you'll ever need because hip-hop. While especially the latter tend to have a real life, the small Venn diagram overlap between the two groups hasn't left their basement since the release of Illmatic and live off a diet of donuts, vinyl records and jazz cigarettes. I envy you. Roland people by the decade. Roland is objectively the best music tech brand of all time, and they have released such a mind-bogglingly large amount of gear over the years that we need to anthropologically analyze Roland fan people according to the decade in which their favorite instruments were brought to the market. The 70s. The only echo chamber you know is in your RE201. You can telepathically communicate with an MC8 microcomposer, and your significant ignorant other has yet to find out that you spent your kid's college fund on a System 100 hidden in a secret underground vault. The 80s, the used prices of your mint Jupiter 8 have outperformed the Dow Jones, but you haven't turned it on since the subprime crisis. You can't program lush pads without the smell of burnt Juno chorus capacitors in the morning, and you cry yourself to sleep at night because the 909 kick of the TR-1000 sounds better than the one on your flawless original. You think that synthesis peaked with a D50, but only played the presets poorly. The 90s Roland gear is essentially 80s Roland gear, but worse and more digital. Feel free to praise your JVs and JDs in the comments, but real Roland fans were switching to Rebirth for a reason. The 2000s, the only thing worse than 90s Roland stuff is whatever they did in the noughties, and you're tired of pretending it's not. Wanna buy an SH32? The 2010s, the usual Roland Cloud Shark jumping aside, this decade brought us the best synth of all time, the TB3. You're also looking forward to a future in which people have fake nostalgia for the green and black IRA color scheme. The Roaring 20s. Roland has entered their post-everything phase with mixed results, but microscopic sci-fi SH101s for $200 actually slap. Software instruments. While normal synth people buy instruments they never play and eventually end up collecting dust on a shelf, plugin fans can obtain the rights to make use of the unlimited musical possibilities of proprietary ones and zeros for the price of a deck saver, until the manufacturer folds and an operating system update renders your copy useless. However, as soon as you get used to the tech dystopia we live in, things are not so bad. Indulge in the retro patches of a vintage backup copy of Silent One, craft unique tones that totally don't sound like everybody else with Serum 2, be a vital cheapskate, cyberbully Waldorf-owning senior citizens based on the sheer synthesis muscle of Pigments, and make some actual money using Omnisphere. It is socially acceptable to get angry because your favorite plugin was not mentioned here. Modular, and no, an MS-20 doesn't count. Probably the easiest way to spend ungodly amounts of time and money on music production without actually producing music. Minimoog, the OG, the alpha and the omega, the genesis of modern synths as we know them, and still to this day one of the most life-changingly massive sounding instruments, acting as a benchmark for other electronic musical instruments past, present and future. A masterclass in utilitarian industrial design, source of truly timeless and genre-defining tones, and a better investment than crypto. You would totally fail a blind test against a $300 Behringer Model D though. Yamaha DX7. Indestructible like an AG100, the DX7 is built for post-apocalyptic use, or 80s touring, which required a similar degree of ruggedness. As a result, you buy every single one of these cold-sounding UI nightmares you can find in your local classifieds, so you can defend your property with razor-sharp FM basses and make your MRE taste like Taco Bell with a Top Bells preset in a time when civilization has ceased to exist. If synth prepping is not your thing, you can just download a copy of Text. It's free. Hydrasynth. This Chinese synth is the embodiment of the current global paradigm shift, and you embrace it. Better price-performance ratio than Western instruments, which are mostly manufactured in China anyway. True innovation based on a tradition willfully handed over by old-school brands, and, most importantly, Hydras look awesome in the LED lights of your home studio. The sweet spots are small, it takes hours to dial in envelopes that actually hit hard, and things can get a little screechy as soon as you open the filter, but all this doesn't matter given the futuristic UI and the simple fact that they hired the best preset designers in the world. Synths for normal people. There's a wide variety of synths too boring to make fun of, and they actually make for great tools for music production and performance. Sequential polys past and present, workstations of all creeds and nations, that one rack rompler that still spits out the piano patch you use for your demos since 1996, Nards, viruses, a beaten up Fender Rhodes, and the Hammond B3 responsible for the herniated disc of your uncle who played in a 70s rock and roll band. F that, let's buy some meme synths. The obscure stuff. Speaking of which, this list wouldn't be complete without the wildly out of control market for weird noise machines trying to transcend the confines of traditional music making. For every 2000s art school student with a Zoom recorder who declared their city to be their instrument, there seems to be a groundbreaking new toy tailor-made for their specific artistic identity no one was interested in the first place. Resonant Circuits Ritual might remind you of the fact that Anton Sanderlaway was a synth player, Electro Foster's Astral Whip certainly makes for a great workout, Critter and Guitari stuff is always a great conversation starter, and Korg just ruined the whole thing by making hipster kalimbas go mainstream. There is, however, a special place in hell reserved for people who let mushrooms play their modular synth. Hope you enjoyed this little ragebait video. Of course, you're more than welcome to express your feelings, good and bad, in the comment section, like, subscribe and use one of the links down below to support the channel regardless of which piece of gear will become your entire personality for the next 6 weeks. Thanks for watching and see you next time.